All right, it's 6:32. We're gonna call a meeting to order. 2.0 prayer. Mr.
Let's pray. Lord God Almighty, thank you for this opportunity to once again come before you and serve the people of this county and the Stephenson County Nursing Center. And just pray you help us communicate effectively and with grace and with understanding, and to do the best we can to understand how best to manage the situation at Stephenson Nursing Center, how best to serve the people that live there, that work there, and how best to move forward. So I pray that you bless this time together. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. 3.0 approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Whalen, do I have a second?
Second.
And Mr. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 4.0 review and approval of meeting minutes from March 14th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And Mr. Whalen, do I have a second? And Ms. Jackie. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of claims totaling an amount of cash requirements and manuals is $216,359.31. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And Mr. Hadley, do I have a second?
Second.
And Mr. Whalen, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 4-1. Public comment,
3-1.
3-1. Where Mr. Bush is at.
I thought aye.
Public comment. Do I have any public comment? Seeing none, all right. 7.0 reports to committee. 7.1, administrative report.
Okay, so today our census is at 48. We have 39 Medicaid, 6 Medicare managed care, 2 hospice, and 1 private. As far as new hires, we did hire 1 CNA, 1 activity aide, 1 medical records person, actually 3 activity aides. They're all part-time. Terminations, 1 housekeeper, 1 activity aide, and a CNA who actually resigned. So currently in-house, our openings are CNAs, we need nurses, LPNs, RNs, housekeeping, and we're looking into accounts payable. As far as maintenance rounds, Seth did find that the soffit had fallen off of the back dining area, and so that needs to be repaired, because if not, with the weather, it's gonna affect the wood, which will then create more damage. As far as what's going on in the community, next week we have, I received an extension for an invitation for Cheryl, our director of nursing, who has 19 years of service and is planning on retiring. So she has accepted the invitation, and so she will be there next Thursday at the meeting. Tomorrow we will be celebrating her birthday, so we'll be doing that. As far as what's new in the community, admissions, in the last month, she's identified that there is a need in the community for a secured memory area. She had gone out visiting the adult daycares. So we are currently working on cleaning up the Willows, and we will be transferring and opening the Willows side so we can go ahead and capitalize on be able to accept residents that do need a secured memory area. For next month, I did submit to the community different vendors that I would like to present. One of them being Smart Links, which is like an HR software, and so we'll forward that for next month. I think we had talked about a preventative maintenance type of software that will help the director be able to organize his things for the state survey. Our surveys are closed. We have our license through April of next year. Life safety is closed. There's currently no outstanding issues. And I think that's it.
Do you have any questions for?
Yes, going back to the maintenance report, I don't know if anybody from the administrator's office or the county board chairman made you aware that we budgeted $200,000 for heating and air conditioning units that are somewhat over 20, 30 years old. Are you aware of that situation?
No.
Okay, summer's gonna be here. We've had air conditioners break down out there. It concerns me right now because, we were told that if an air conditioning breaks down, we're gonna have to bring in portable air conditioning units, so we're gonna need an RFP, and,
As I say,
We have a sample from the office, from another office within the county, so we're revamping that, modifying that to reflect what we need at the nursing center so that Georgia and Attorney Larson can look at the wording, make sure the dates and the timing is accurate, and then we can get that.
because I don't know if it was our maintenance guy or Wally that put this thing together, saying what units were gonna have to be changed out and stuff like that.
Are you talking about the PTAC units, or is it the
Yeah,
rooftop
rooftop.
that does the whole building?
Yes,
Okay.
some of those units are anywhere from 20 to 30 years old.
Okay.
So we have the money in the budget, we're gonna hit 80 here, I think on Sunday, so
Mhm.
the warm weather is coming, and that's a huge concern. We don't have those units break down, and then IDPH breathing down our back,
We don't want that.
no. So I'm glad we're working on that, because now we'll have some in front of the committee next, or
That's
we
the
have.
goal, is to be able to have something to approve so that it can be out for bid.
I wish we would have something sooner that we could, approve something at the county board level to get this thing moving, because.
I would say we discussed it a month or so ago on the.
Because, you're looking at May approving it, giving about 30 days out. These guys have to line up their construction, the summer could be over with. So,
Yeah, you're not gonna get it done now till probably September.
yeah, well, we're gonna have to tell, in there that this is possibly an emergency situation too, so.
Well, that's, if I remember right, Bill, that was just the one side of the building that isn't occupied right now. She's talking about opening that back up by the sound of it.
Actually, it's the Willows. So, it's on the side where everybody is.
Okay,
It's off of the main, right. It's the secured memory area.
so at worst case, we might have an issue with the existing AC that might need to be fixed in an emergency situation, but that rebuild was for the other wing, from what I understand.
I think it was both wings.
The age of the units, you're right, there are different ages for the different units, but the units that is down is on the other wing.
Yeah.
Where no residents are currently living.
Okay, but we budgeted 200,000 for the whole
Right, to look at.
kit and caboodle, so we could get it done, so. Well, I'm glad that something's getting done. We should have probably been doing something a little more.
Well, this started when? This isn't that we're just forgetting about it. This has been going on. So when did we start with this? So I know I had
February?
conversations beginning of February
And
about
say
this. So
February is when I
this
recall.
is not that it just got dropped. So I don't want anybody to think that's the case here.
Well, we should have an RFP in front of us by now, don't you think so?
And why isn't it, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, just,
This has been talked about all last year by this committee.
Okay, any questions for Adrian? Any additional? Seeing none, all right. TCM.
All right, let's start with the February P&L. The February P&L shows $475,095 in total income and $454,893 in total expenses for a profit of $20,202. I've got a little footnote at the bottom that last month in January, I didn't have an invoice, the invoice for Fox Hire for $18,165 in the January statement here. And so this February includes the January statement from Fox Hire of $18,165 and the February invoice for Fox Hire of $27,636. So the year-to-date of $40,260 is accurate, but technically January made $2,000 and February made $38,000 as opposed to the 20 and 20. And with the census of 48, we closed out March with a pretty good census, a little bit higher than February's, and so we would anticipate. March has 2 more days in it than February. We would anticipate March to look better than February. Any questions on,
Actually, so, as far as the invoices, how do you want to get those moving forward? Like, just so you can have accurate numbers?
Just as they come in, forward them to me and Denise.
All invoices?
No, just the Fox Hire, because they don't show up in anything else we see. So no, the system is fine as it is. It was just, the only issue was with the Fox Hire invoices.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the rest of the system. I'm getting all the numbers that I need.
Off of CIC or from who?
The claims that we just
From
approved.
Stephanie?
No, they actually come from Jennifer. The batches, every month, the batch of invoices.
That she sends you, okay.
The Fox Hire invoices are in those batches. Even though they're entered from our office, they go to the committee through batch.
Right, but whatever Jennifer's generating within the building does not have Fox Hire on it. It could be because maybe it's being paid quicker, so maybe it's being pulled out of, maybe it's already paid by the time that it gets sent to me. I don't know, there's something different about the Fox Hire invoices than the rest of them. So,
But what we sent works for you to get that.
I mean, we really would like to see the individual invoices. We've asked several times, and I don't know why we're not getting them. So it really doesn't work the way it is. It works for now to get to next month, but we really need to see what's going on with all invoices. And so that's one that we've just, I don't know, been shielded from for some reason.
Next.
How is that shielded from that?
They're available through the financial software. I just don't think the business office manager was pulling from when we enter it in. She has to do a vendor search and can pull up the scanned images.
So does she have full access to the Matrix software at this point, both on the billing side?
Matrix
and
is not what the software,
That's not what.
the financial software for the county.
Oh, okay. So does she work with Stephanie on that then?
She submits her claims, but the Fox higher things come through our office, get entered, but they get put through the committee, 3 batches.
Okay,
They just aren't entered at the nursing home.
okay,
So we'll work on that.
gotcha. Thank you.
Let's go to the AR. Apologize, this report is kind of chopped up. But the overall AR is 1,272,786. I think last month was about 1,499,000. The matrix has been fixed finally, with the being able to do write-offs and things like that.
So that 1.2 is 1.27. I mean, it's
1.27, and there are still some. I think last month I said we probably had 50 to 75,000 range of additional write-offs that we present after the quarter's over, which was 11 days ago. So next meeting we'll present another batch of write-offs. They'll probably be in that range. Get tied to especially the private pay category. So it's closer to like 1.2, I guess would probably be, if you're looking for a more realistic number, 1.2.
So do you guys work with our business office manager on those as well at this point? I mean, does she have access to the billing software and all that? Is she working with you guys on that? Because eventually, Mike, I'd like to see her take that over completely someday. I mean, it may not be next week, it may not be next month, but we need to be doing that in-house at some point down the road, whenever that is.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And it's on the agenda. She does communicate back and forth with our billers.
But can she see all the transactions going on within Matrix?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, the issue is that she doesn't have access to everything. We did do a trial a few months ago where she was gonna log in and start to get familiar with the billing, but then she didn't have access, and then that got dropped. So since then, we haven't attempted it again.
Does she have read access?
For what?
Is she able to get in and read what's in there? So
In Matrix?
I'm talking about for billing and collections. I mean, we wouldn't have it we wouldn't put her in a situation where she could actually enter anything at this point. She's not been trained to do that. But she could have read access,
To enter what?
enter nothing.
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
saying
no.
Just, you said she wanted to go in and look.
Well,
She
no,
should be able
actually,
to go in and look.
well, no, I mean, we can generate statements. We can go ahead and do, the UBs. I don't think there's an issue with the UB04s, but she hasn't been able to get access to start the billing process. Like
Right.
just to do it on her, or even, yeah, so I mean, she's not able to do that now.
Right. And it's a complicated thing.
Which
And
part?
Certainly, if the end goal is to train her, we certainly can get that done. Everything with billing. I mean, Medicaid, Medicaid is, it is made for someone to fail. Just ask Kelsey. She's nodding her head. So it's not an easy task. Someone does need to be trained, and that certainly could be on our list.
Yeah, I'd love to
Get her
see
trained.
that happen.
Well, I would like to be able to get it done within the next 30 days.
Not gonna happen. Sorry.
Why is that?
Because it is too complicated.
Well,
She can screw up,
no,
I'm
hang on.
just
It can be-
finishing my statement. She can screw up the billing. So.
But
we
it can be
train her.
started in the next 30
We
days.
certainly can start some training in the next 30 days, but we can't let her loose.
I understand that. I mean, if we get to a point, if we have a trained staff that can do that, then there would be a transition that would happen
And there are
to that individual.
a dozen pieces to it, so it's not like a turn the switch on or
I
off.
understand it's a complex process,
Yeah.
but if you guys are able to figure it out, I'm sure somebody else can.
So what was that?
Okay,
If you guys are able to figure it out, I'm sure somebody else can.
so we're gonna start the process and move on from there.
Well, I'd like to add something to this, and we've been down, before we got the management company, and we had somebody in-house doing it, and the things got really screwed up. And I don't know if you had to clean up any of that. That the person that we had in-house, I mean, before we hired that group.
No, we were beyond that point. 'Cause
Yeah, but-
Excalibur had been in there more than a year.
And we missed out on a lot of things. That's what I'm worried about. The management company's well-trained, so we don't miss out on things. That's what I'm scared about. You know, we can train the best person. And I have no problem training, seeing somebody get trained, but I think there should be like,
Processes in place.
a 6-month probation thing where the management company's overseeing this thing, and if there continues to be quite a few mistakes, you know, then we better be looking at some better avenues. I don't wanna go backwards, I wanna go forwards and try to get all the money that we're entitled to and everything.
That's right.
So, you know, if we train somebody, we need to have them oversee them for so long, and then if Mike feels comfortable or the management company feels comfortable that, hey, this person's doing great, I'm all for it, you know,
And I think that's what their intentions are going to.
you know, so.
All right,
Well, actually, we are currently going through that right now. So they did implement a triple check process. So the idea is we get a list, we check the information that we have for the resident in Matrix, and we go ahead and run a report to see if there's any errors in those bills. And if there is, we correct those errors. For example, it's missing a qualifying stay, you know, you're checking the demographics. And then, so the idea is the information is clean. And so when it does get submitted, those bills do get through, paid and back. So we've started that. We have found that there are some issues, but we are correcting that as a team. So then that way, when it gets to the billing process, when they submit them, it's clean and we get the money. My understanding is when we bill, more or less, we get the money within 10 to 20 days. Is that correct?
It depends, different payers, some are that quick, some are more 15 to 30. Medicaid's, straight Medicaid is a little bit more than that.
So we are working on that process now. So the bills, so there isn't an outstanding balance that wasn't collected, saying that that was an issue at the building level, right? So we've started that process.
Yep, check and balances is good. I mean, government always has checks and balances, so.
So hang on a minute. I just heard that we typically pay between 10 and 20 days, and yet I see $1.2 million still sitting out here, half of which is over 90 days old.
Those are all clean claims. They're all for straight approved Medicaid patients, or clean claims on Medicare. What you're seeing in the older categories are not clean issues. Just one example is, I think you brought up in the past, Medicaid pending. So
I get that,
well, that takes
that's half
10 months.
$500,000.
That takes 10 months to collect. So you have 3 of those people, and you're there at your couple $100,000 just for that one batch. So
okay.
that was a general statement, which I agreed with. 10 to 15 days. If they're
Understood.
cash flow.
Cash flow. So, let's see, we moved the tax levy. Not that we believe that it'll come in by then, but it would be nice to get in June. We'll continue to push it out as it doesn't get received. I think that's a whole topic on itself. So, I mean, the cash flow shows that we are going to continue to struggle until July 1st, where things will start to loosen up because the 50,000 in insurance claims won't need to be paid at that point. But in the meantime, the $300,000 loan that the county has is helping with keeping the vendors at bay. No question. $300,000 loan is 12% interest per year that you're paying on the transitional care management bills that you're paying. So it certainly looks like a loan to me at this point. But we'll be able to, get through, and when the tax levy does hit, things will be a lot better, and by the end of the year, we might be in a great year.
Okay,
I got a question. He brings up a good point. I believe the last time you got paid was a $500 check, correct? Or,
I believe that was last meeting,
yes,
the month before, I think we got one payment, from the last meeting to this meeting.
and how much was that for?
I think it was around 20,000. It was a real month.
Can I answer that?
Yes.
So for 2024, January 25th, $527 was paid. February 2nd, $24,222.62 was paid. February 23rd, $569.57 was paid. March 16th, $19,116.62 were paid. So the statement that last month only $500 had been received was wildly inaccurate.
Last
What
month is this meeting
Yeah.
would be very accurate.
And
March 16th.
do you want me to go back any further?
I just was worried about 2024. We got a bill of what, $346,000 we owe a company that has been doing a fine job for us. And I think, we need, and you're the finance chairman, is there any way we can, do we have to wait till we get the,
Bill, we don't have the revenue.
well, do we have to wait till we get
We're
our?
trying to keep the place open right now.
Yep. But do we have to wait till we get our levy, and when do we expect to get our levy, and how much would we get on our first? We're not gonna probably get a bunch on our first time out.
Historically, going back to when you were chairman, the levy was paid in October. That's how it was always done, and it was, I think, somewhere around 300,000. Somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000 on the first swing.
Well,
Did you happen to look at the treasurer's report on the AP today?
well, I looked at the one where.
Total cash flow shortage right now is $974,758.19.
Well,
So,
I see we're about 900,000 behind, a little over 900,000 behind on bills.
almost $1 million though.
You know, and if it was other departments, we'd probably be going out and getting, interfund loans and getting all these bills paid and then just paying one payer back, you know, and stuff like that. But times have changed and there's a new administration in-house, and I just think that we need to be getting our bills paid on time.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
I don't, no.
Well, then we should probably be looking at all avenues.
We have. Where are we gonna borrow it from? Have you looked at the cash flow of the rest of the county? Because that's where it comes from, other already budgeted expenditures. So where have you looked to see that there's excess dollars to do an interfund loan?
Well, that's up to the treasurer, you know, we should have her in here and asking her
It's up to
that
the county
question,
board.
you know. I mean, well, we should ask the treasurer first, you know.
But there's an interfund loan policy that this board approved, so where should we take it from? You're saying we should take it. Where have you looked that there is excess funds to take it from? You have to take it from a fund somewhere, so which one should we take it from?
Well, not on the finance committee. If I was on the finance committee, it'd be a different story that, we would have that discussion, Chairman Helms, you know.
I understand.
I'm
everyone has
not a
access
part
to
of the
budget.
finance committee. If I was part of the finance committee, I would
Hang on a
help find
minute. Hang
solutions.
on a minute, before you get
You
too
know.
excited, you had the opportunity to be part of the finance committee, you chose to not do that, so.
Yeah, the
Okay,
chairman puts
so-
me on a
Let's end that
no
right
nothing
there.
committee.
Moving on.
Wouldn't put me on as finance chairman. Why wouldn't you do that, Chairman?
All right,
You're not qualified.
you guys,
Oh, I'm qualified, Chairman.
moving
Why do you
on.
think you,
Bill.
why do you smirk at me? That ain't funny.
Bill,
Okay.
That ain't funny. He smirks at me and that ain't funny. That's disrespectful to me. That is so disrespectful. You've been really tearing me apart.
Moving on to 8.0, old business.
Please.
Why do you keep on
8.1.
looking at me like that?
You're talking, I'm listening.
No, I was done talking.
Yeah, another thing under the priority.
Under cash flow?
Under, no, not cash flow, but still under TCM's
Oh, sorry.
timeframe.
Go for it.
Um,
Thank you.
So, all right, I won't mention that, because tensions are high. Okay, CNA, well, let's go to the quick discussion on the collective bargaining agreement that was agreed to for the nursing home. I'm not looking for any answers here tonight, but if you remember, when we talked with the attorney last week or last month, the contract was based on minimum wage for certain employees and minimum wage plus 25 cents in other areas. And so the question was asked, the guy asked it, I said, well, so if we paid those salaries, we're going to be going backwards. I'm just gonna use a generic number of 14 and a quarter an hour. If we go back and look at the contract and we pay 14 and a quarter an hour for a position we are currently paying $15 an hour to new hires, along with falling behind to the other buildings in the area at that $15. How are we gonna ever hire anyone? And his answer was, well, you can use any pay structure you want, but it has to be at least the minimum of that $14 or 14 and a quarter an hour. So, what is the mechanism at this point? Because I guess the contract is in play now, I believe. And there's supposed to be some dollars backdated to January 1st. And so for the existing employees, I think we're okay because there was a flat amount of increase. We know what the roadmap is for the existing employees. But for hiring new employees, there's no roadmap. The only roadmap that we have is the budget that we presented, and would like to follow the budgets. And so process-wise, we just move forward, use the budget that was approved, or are there other hurdles in this quest for getting a normal starting wage that is competitive in the area, that complies both with the budget and the CBA?
We will get back. You asked for no answers, so we will get back with you on that. So,
I do it, but there is some timing issue. It really can't
right,
wait till next
understandable,
month.
understandable.
Also not an issue.
Okay, moving on. Are you good?
One more thing.
Okay,
So we wanted to know where things are at with the potential re-interview of a candidate that we brought forward and endorsed.
so the interview committee did meet and we decided to not move forward with that at this time.
Okay,
Okay,
so I'd like to point out some numbers.
okay,
Some numbers are, if you were to take everything, salary, expenses and everything for the prior administrator, we were paying about $107.50 all in. From the information that I have, which is not accurate invoices yet, nothing to do with Adrian personally. It looks like we're paying for the current administrator $130.60 an hour. What this new candidate that we would like to hire would cost us is about $72 an hour. So it's not just that we want to hire this candidate, it's that this candidate's going to be almost 50% less in cost, which is very significant when we have an accounts payable that needs to be paid. So we're not understanding why we can't move forward with this person. In our management contract, there is a cooperation clause, which I'm trying not to bring up, but we're bringing it up here today. And so we would ask that you reconsider and allow us to do our thing.
okay. Thank you for that information. Moving on, 8.0, old business. 8.1, review and approval of admissions and marketing director bonus plan. So after our last meeting, we asked for more information. So in your packet, you will find what Ms. Avila revised the bonus plan. So if we are ready to discuss that, do I have a motion to discussion?
So moved.
And Mr. Whalen, do I have a second? Second. And Mr. Meester. So any discussion on the marketing?
So
director?
we're at a census of 48, correct? And if I read the previous statement from TCM correctly, then our admissions directors owe $3,000 in bonus. Is that a correct statement? Currently?
Correct.
Okay. So my only issue with it, I've been in sales and marketing for a long time, and I get the idea of bonuses. I get the idea of providing incentive. I have no issues with that personally. But I didn't understand the idea of $1,000 for each additional person that we add to the matrix, if you will, out there. You know, again, that may be a difference of opinion, but I'd like to see that stretched out a little bit further. You know, there's nothing in the employment agreement that states exactly how that's going to be paid from what I can read in the actual agreement that was presented, unless I don't have the correct agreement. It just says a bonus of $12,000 for additional, capacity at the nursing center that she would help bring in. So I guess, for lack of a better way of saying this, I would like to see that stretched out a little bit to say that, let's honor what we've agreed to so far and what you presented. But maybe the next bonus, let's see that at 55 and the next bonus at 60, not every single additional person in the bed. That would be my take on it. And I'd like to understand if that's not acceptable, why that would be.
I would say it's definitely not acceptable for a few reasons. First, let's talk legal. A bonus plan was offered in an offer letter. There's a precedent set for this type of structure from the last couple of years with different admissions people, with different administrators. And if push came to shove and we upset our admissions person who's doing a wonderful job, she would win a Department of Labor complaint. I had sent something, and I can find it and forward it to you too, but it's a very simple link that talks just to this type of situation. So that's the legal side. Now let's talk about it.
Hang on a minute. While you're on the legal side, I did talk to our state's attorney, and I don't think he shares that opinion, just for the record.
He's entitled to his.
Sure.
Send me his link. I'll send him mine. I'll show him my link if you show.
I got you.
Yeah, and I think he's very wrong. So on the, let's just say, financial, practical level, I hope you realize that this starting point was closer to the 37 or 38 census range. And so the first hurdle was to get to budget, which was 45. So the first hurdle was 7 or 8 people. It wasn't just one. And so if you do the math, census of 38, census of 39, census of 40, census of, et cetera, when she wasn't getting paid for any of that, I mean, that's basically $8,000-9,000 a person compounded every month. We're talking $50,000 to $100,000 that she brought in to get us to this point. And to make her jump to a higher level, it's just not right. Also, we as a management company have bonus programs in place with different plateaus in our other buildings. And each one is tailored to be a little bit different. But this is pretty consistent with the industry. And, we lost our last admissions director, I think for financial reasons. We don't want to lose this one. It's bringing in a lot of money, having someone engaged like this. And it's a small portion to pay out.
Okay.
Do we have that letter? Was that ever sent to the,
It's in the packet.
Yes, so
where is it at in the
it's the
package?
next page.
Dated 10/5 of 23?
Correct.
Ms. Cross, it's in this letter here. So we haven't made up no agreements then, correct? This is the agreement that we're having with her right now, correct?
Well, there was a written agreement that TCM provided her, to my understanding, that showed a bonus plan bill of $1,000 per additional bed, starting at 45 beds, going up to 55 or 57 beds, whatever it was.
I don't think anything was written that way. We were trying to come up with how that bonus was gonna be paid out based on the few months that I've been here. She had asked what exactly her offer letter meant. So
So
then,
she's never been presented a plan, to your knowledge.
all she has is the offer letter. That's why, and that's what kind of kicked this off, yes.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Just offer letter, Mike, I'm talking about here, it looks like congratulations, welcome to new position.
Yeah.
Her salary 54,080.
Yeah, it's about 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, it says
Where
specifically,
is,
Bill,
where does it
additional
say
info
about the
bonus.
bonuses here?
You will be eligible for a productivity bonus of up to an additional 12,000 per year. Pre-approved time off, 1 week, that's all it says, is an
Yeah.
amount. It doesn't say how it's going to be paid. It just says, and I'm not saying we take that away. I'm not saying that at all.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
To me, she's earned all 12 of it today. So that's why we're just so far apart on our way of thinking about
Yes, we have been for a while, so.
As much as I like to agree with the state's attorney and everything, have we reached out to Mr. Lowenbaum? He's up on top of this stuff all the time. And maybe a call in I would feel more comfortable getting a second opinion, from Mr. Lowenbaum.
So Mr. Lowenbaum generally does the union contracts. This would probably go through our liability labor attorneys because it's a non-contractual position.
Well, I'd rather hear from somebody that's on top of this stuff.
Madam Administrator, do you have an opinion on this? What's
So-
typical in,
My understanding when we talked about it last month was if our goal or our budget is 45, once she hits 46, then that's a $1,000 bonus. If she goes to 47, then she would go ahead and attain that 47 census bonus. If the census drops down to 44, her next goal to attain would be 48. So there would be no payment on 46, no payment on 47. At 48, because we did not reach that goal, then that would be another census goal she attains.
and you
So,
make my other point perfectly, in that when we have it structured as it is with each individual, if we go up 2 and then drop back 3, we're not
nothing is paid.
maintaining anything. And what I'm
Right.
saying is if we stretch that out a little bit further, even if we drop back a couple, we've still hit a longer term goal of increasing the census there. Does that make
Right.
sense?
It does, and so, in the industry, sometimes they make those bonuses bigger because you're not getting small incremental, then now it would make, a bigger impact on the community and obviously, as far as, financially for her, if you did do it, but then you have to incentivize it with being bigger, in my opinion.
Yeah, so, and Adrian has in her letter, it's in the packet there, that states that if she does, and it's actually what did happen. We slid back, we were 45, 46, 47, slid back to 44, now back up to 48. So she doesn't get a new bonus every time.
Understood. Yeah, I have no issue with that. I get it perfectly. Like, I understand how bonuses work, but I just think it would be better from a financial standpoint when we're having trouble paying our bills, still paying you guys for one. It makes sense to me to stretch that out a little bit further from both a functional standpoint, so that if we hit 50 and drop back to 47, right, we paid out a little bit bigger chunk maybe, but we're not going back to 40, it just, the math to me works a little bit better in that scenario than incrementally going one at a time.
I understand your logic.
So it's
I
just a
understand your logic.
different approach, right? So
It's just for someone who's probably earning a entire 12,000 already. And turnover is brutal in this industry.
Yeah, I know.
And all we're doing is, pushing off the inevitable.
Well, we'll be at 49 tomorrow.
So now we over 4,000.
Just
Yeah.
got another 9.
Any further discussion?
At what point does that impact the cost side? For every 5 beds that are filled, we gotta add how many CNAs, how many LN, how many RNs, how many?
We're probably, if it were from this jump to this jump, you're probably looking at 12 or so. But there are the incrementals, so to go a half a CNA.
Yeah, I just want everybody to understand it. I'm with you. I'd like to see the census going up, but there is an impact on the cost side, the liability side. There are other things that play into that as well.
But the cost is, no matter what, it's less than the income from the new additions.
Yes, understood.
Okay, any discussion, any further discussion?
So what are we approving tonight? There's nothing in front of us, a piece of paper showing this.
There was in the packet. Is it? Is it?
What, Adrian's? Yeah. It was
Hey.
the page before the offer letter.
So basically what you see in the admission director bonus explanation, the bonus would be awarded as follows. For every census, I'm just reading this so everybody hears it. For every census goal reached, the bonus paid out will be $1,000. Excuse me. Census goal attainment of $46,000. Census goal attainment $47,000, and so on until a total of $12,000 in bonuses are paid. The census drops and the goal of 47 was attained and paid, then the next census goal to reach is 48 for the census goal bonus to be paid out. Once a census goal attainment bonus has been paid, and again, I would like to read, hang on, I guess I should finish reading it first, has been paid out on a particular census number, that bonus is considered fulfilled and will not be paid again. So I would move that the census bonus be changed to productivity bonus to match her offer letter, 1. 2, I would move, in addition to that we pay up to the $50,000 mark, which would be the first 5,000. And that would leave 7,000. We pay 3,500 at 55 census and 3,500 at a 60 census. That would be my motion. I want to see her get the 12 grand, but I think we need to get up a little bit higher than that myself.
Well, at this time, I'm gonna vote no for the simple reason I don't like lawsuits. And, if there could be a pending lawsuit over this, I would feel
Well,
more.
she hasn't been presented this yet.
Well.
How can it be a lawsuit? We're still paying her $12,000.
Hold up. So you made a motion, we need a second before we go.
She
into
said a second.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm discussing it. I'd like to see our liability company come back saying, hey, this is good to go, and then I'll support it,
Okay. Go ahead.
Can I add something?
Yes.
I think the only liability we would have is if we don't offer her a bonus of up to 12,000. I'm not an attorney, but that's my understanding.
And that is the exact opinion of our state's attorney, to my understanding.
Okay,
So do I need to reiterate that?
that would be greatly appreciated.
So on this statement, I would like to, I made the motion to change goal attainment bonus, I guess census goal attainment bonus to productivity bonus to match her offer letter. And that would be paid in $1,000 increments up to 50, a census of 50. And then the balance of $7,000 would be paid out, 3,500 at a census of 55 and another 3,500 at a census of 60.
I have a
Totally
question.
$12,000.
I have a question for Mike. After hearing this, you see any problem with that, or you still see a problem?
I see a big problem with it. There was a precedent set. And before you vote, and I know this is gonna piss you off, but before you vote, if you vote against this, you are asking us, in our opinion, to partake in a labor law violation, which we are not willing to do. And so that means it's gonna get paid, whether you vote for it or not. And I know you didn't like to hear that, but.
So
it's like
wait a
I'm
minute.
tired
So
of what you're doing here.
You're telling me
It's insane.
that you work for us and that you're not gonna follow what we tell you to do. Is that what I just heard you say?
You heard me say that you're asking me to break the law.
I'm not asking you to break any law,
You
Mike. We're-
absolutely are.
Okay. So we have a discussion on the floor in a second. So any further discussion on the amendment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye.
No. And I wanted in the record who voted yes and who voted no, please.
So going back to the original,
Did it fail?
it failed, sorry. I am totally in this. Okay, so it failed. So now we go back to the original approval of tonight is, let me find my agenda. Review and approval of the missions and marketing director bonus and plan as presented. I already had my first and my second. Any discussion?
No, what's this we're voting on?
So it failed for the amendment that Mr. Whalen, so now we're all the way back to the very beginning.
To the original one that we have her on now?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Any more discussion?
Why we're just doing this as a precaution because we're okay in this. Now, will this go to the board too then?
This was never approved by the board, so all agreements have to be approved by the board, which is why it's coming forward.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so did that basically fail? And then
Did
we
fail.
bring it back? Or
It's up to the committee.
it's up to the committee what we would like to do?
I suggest you bring it back next month when Mr. Bush is here.
Okay.
To make a motion to lay it over then.
So do I have a motion to lay this over?
Motion to lay over.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
And Mr. Whalen, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on. New business, 9.0. Discussion and approval engagement of Markham LLC. Mike, this is something that you brought forward.
Back in 2020, Stephenson Nursing Center received, I'm within $1,000 here, about $798,000 in COVID relief fund money. The regulations are if a nursing home, doesn't apply to other departments or anything, but nursing home receives $750,000 or more in COVID relief, it is subject to a mandatory audit outside third party. And so we have other buildings that we manage, and there were a few that fell into this category. And so we have been negotiating an engagement letter for the other three buildings with Markham. Markham is they're a national accounting firm, very well known. There's a local office in Northbrook, Illinois. We deal with people there. So we've been negotiating that, and one of our people on our financial team actually said, we should really check to see if Stephenson County received this kind of money, over $750,000. And so he did some investigative reporting, and last Wednesday said, yeah, they received $798,000. So there was a deadline for last Friday. So we're 48 hours away from a deadline to present an engagement letter to COVID Relief Police, HRSA. And so we had negotiated them for other buildings. And so I had a non-binding engagement letter drawn up for Stephenson County so that we could present it. So that before this meeting, so that we could present it to HRSA to preserve the timeline so that Stephenson County didn't have to pay back $798,000 because they missed the deadline, not having an engagement letter by last Friday. And so all that did was, so I signed an engagement letter. Sure, I get heat for that, but I signed an engagement letter. Again, that is non-binding. I've sent the proof of the non-binding part of this engagement letter to the board here. And so it doesn't mean the audit has to be done by last Friday. It could be several months from now when the audit is done. You also can decide not to go with Markham. At this point, you can go back to Sickich or whoever you want to go to. My only goal was to preserve the timeline for Stephenson County so they wouldn't be stuck with a $798,000 bill. We did call Whitfleet, who really has done work for you before, the county before. They do the cost reports for the nursing home. And their response was a little disappointing that they didn't have time to do it. They were swamped. And so that's why we went to Markham, because it's someone that we know and that we do business with. So what we're presenting here tonight, I had to redo the offer letter with Mr. Helm's name on it, Stephenson Nursing Center. And so we're presenting that tonight, to move forward, to get signed. The cost is between $15,000 and $20,000, which is in the offer letter, or in the engagement letter. And it's consistent with a couple other buildings that we're doing too. It's a pretty extensive audit. It's not something that's covered by the Sickich audit that has already been done. And it goes back to 2020. And no one even knew the rules back in 2020 or 2021 or 2022 or 2023 until right now when the rules of what has to happen just came out. So it's not anything that anyone would have even thought of before this. And so we're asking for, again, have a few months, but I wouldn't mess with this too much, but from a time frame situation. So we're asking that the offer letter be moved forward and signed, and get another engagement letter and get something going with Markham.
Yes, I have some information to present. When I was made aware of this, the county does have a separate single audit that is prepared in addition to the countywide audit that deals with a lot of the federal funding, grant funding, those sorts of things. There's a handful of departments that are included in the single audit. At first, I thought maybe this would fulfill that. Mr. Filippo believes there is still some information that is missing in that. I did reach out to Sickich. At their first glance, they thought that the single audit prepared for 2020 included everything with it, but they are in the process of reaching out and working with HRSA to see if they can get some clarification on what additional would be required if it was not in that single audit that we already have. Lindsay Fish from Sickich did say, she's not really familiar with this, but reached out to the portion of Sickich that would do this sort of an audit. And she said, since they've already done a bulk of that with the single audit, if the additional grant specific audit is required, they would be able to assist. She couldn't give me a hard number, but an estimate of between 5,000 and 8,000, and could narrow that down once they were able to speak with HRSA and find out specifically what is needed. I did let her know that we were going to discuss this engagement letter. I wasn't sure if this had to move quickly or if we could change engagement with another company or not. I wasn't able to connect with Mike on that before the meeting. But Ms. Fish did say she could have an engagement letter to us to be on the board agenda in addition to this one, or I guess it's up to the committee if you want to move that forward to the board or wait till next month if that's a time frame. But
I mean, it sounds like a great option if they can do it. They've already done stuff for you, right? And it's cheaper, so it's a win-win-win. Yeah, is there any way that they can figure that out and try and move something to the board for next week?
She said she would have it to me by Tuesday.
Well, then I guess you could. I was gonna say you could lay this over as a backup plan.
Right.
And then hopefully work something out with Sickich in the next week.
And that would come in front of the board.
Correct. Mr. Holmes was first, sorry.
We had just asked Sickich to try to get back to us before we put out the finance agenda
Okay,
tomorrow night for Monday's meeting, because I would really like this to go through finance.
okay.
If at all possible, if it doesn't pass tonight, so it can have further scrutiny, but regardless, if it can't be on Monday's agenda for finance, and we do have information by the time Tuesday rolls around for the board agenda, then it would be on that. It definitely will go through the board for final approval.
Correct, yeah. I'm gonna follow up with her. Just getting back from Springfield, I want to make sure I didn't have anything that I had missed, but
So just so I understand this correctly.
Mr. Hadley.
I was saying Mr.
Oh,
Hadley, I'm sorry.
Mr. Hadley.
No, that's okay. I lost my thought.
I'll come back to you. Go ahead.
So we were given $798,000 a few years back to go toward our nursing center?
Cures money, I believe is what it was. And it was specific on uses. I'm sorry, I didn't ask to be recognized.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes, it was spent on equipment. Casey, you probably talked to it as well. It's very specific on what those dollars had to be used for, but yes.
And so if we don't somehow provide audit materials showing what that money was spent for, we may have to pay it back.
And it's
Correct statement.
just as Mr. Filippo said, there were no rules in place when any of this went down, and it's a moving target. So, yeah, absolutely.
That's always-
We're finally getting back, because not necessarily with cures dollars, but with other COVID relief dollars, there was a significant amount of fraud. So now they're trying to go backwards.
Cover their tracks a
Well,
little bit.
They're hitting the easy ones, right? You can hit organizations a lot easier than you can hit individuals.
Right.
Okay, with hearing all that information, what would we like,
Move to table it till next month,
how about lay it over?
or later, I'm sorry,
And then,
me and my terms.
okay, so with that, do we need to make a motion to lay it over for a second? Yep, all right, so with that, you make.
I made a motion to lay it over till next month.
Second, and then Ms. Easter, any discussion on laying it over? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? All right. 10.0, public comment. Do I have a public comment? Please state your name, you got 3 minutes.
Casey Anthony. We specifically went out to look at management companies because of billing issues. So just to kind of reiterate what Mr. Hadley was saying, there were lots of mistakes made, and it was very interesting going and talking to the other counties that have county-owned nursing homes down in Springfield. And they're doing the same thing. Those that don't have management companies that are overseeing to make sure everything is compliant have their in-house people that aren't billing properly. So it's a very niche thing. And that's literally why we had a operational analysis done. That's why the foundation was pushing for a management company, because there was, we're still seeing the effects of that, right? Like the outstanding balance we have is because of not billing correctly. So I really, really caution any trying to move outside of what TCM's recommendation would be regarding billing. We've been down that road, and it was this committee's and the board's mistake for not making sure that billing was done properly in-house. Okay. Also, just to clarify, interfund loan, I looked the policy up. It's actually the department that's managing the fund that sends the request to finance chair, finance director, treasurer, and administrator. So it doesn't come from the committee, it's actually coming from the department. And also about the potential candidate, I found the information that you presented, Chairwoman, interesting, because I spoke to Mr. Bush, who's on that committee last night, and he was not under the impression that had been, that the answer was no, that you weren't moving forward. So I just wanted to make that note that Mr. Bush was not on that same page, and he's also on that committee. The admissions person, I guess I'm gonna need more information about that, how that's even considered an agreement. It's in the budget, and with the budget, as long as you stay within the fund, total funds amount, we trust our department heads to be able to utilize or make decisions regarding what they budgeted for and won't be approved as the county board. I'm gonna quote Chairman Helms, this committee, we are not qualified, right? None of how many people went to school to be nursing home administrators or work in a nursing home. And so we're trying to make decisions for people who are saying, this is what we're recommending based on our expertise, based on our qualifications. I continue to not be able to understand why we're not going with a recommendation. But as far as the budget goes, 12% is what is already expensed, even though we're 27% of the way through the year, so there's plenty of room. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. Anybody else?
Yeah. My name is Lori Youngblood. I'm here to talk about the lack of leadership in this room. And I'm gonna look at you too. I'm looking at Chairman Helms. Because to sit there and say that you are a leader and then disagree with professionals in the field is above and beyond disrespectful and rude. And to say that anybody can do the job, you can't, and you're not stepping up to it. And thanks for smirking, because then we can bring up Chairman Helms smirking. He does it all the time. And he moved the podium in the main room to intimidate people. But what he doesn't know is that people can watch his facial reactions when people are making comment, and he smirks, and it does get commented on. So you might think you have a poker face, Chairman Helms, but you don't. And to say that former Chairman Hadley wasn't qualified is above and beyond rude, because you have intentionally put people in leadership roles that aren't qualified. Look who's sitting in the room right now, and look who you replaced her with. And you intentionally put someone on this board who's supposedly supposed to be the finance chair, who every month has to be explained the difference between accrual accounting and cash accounting. And you purposely, thanks for the smirk, create chaos and try to make things look more complicated than what they are. And it's just ridiculous, and the rudeness needs to stop. And I'm just curious, as president of a bank, is this how you act to your board? Is this how you act to your employees? And is this how you act to the patrons of the bank? It's disrespectful and it's embarrassing. I can't imagine what other people are looking at when they watch these meetings and they see this utter chaos and they see you promote the chaos. And if you're saying the board isn't doing anything, or the chair isn't doing anything, or the committee isn't doing anything, guess what? You're the one who's in charge of the whole ship. And if it's not happening, at the end of the day, it's on you. And that's all I have to say.
I just have a question.
It's in public comment, so.
Right,
Oh, thank you.
yes. Jim Hart. My question is, I'm trying to get my head around regarding the financial situation here. Why we aren't expediting bringing on a full-time administrator at half the cost. I mean, we're talking about 4,000 here or 2,000 there. I'm not negating that. Everything is significant, but it seems like we're talking about, again, double the money and maybe up to 60 or 70,000. Right now, we have a temporary administrator, was hired for obvious reasons to be temporary, not to be permanent. Apparently, that's not on the table. I mean, if it were, it would be something we could look at. I don't know why our subcommittees or whatever have not seemed to be working harder to bring that person in. I'm not even sure why we have that process, given the fact we have a management company now. I know we've used that process before, but that was when we didn't have a management company. I think our management company has done a good idea. I don't know why we wouldn't take their suggestion, which goes back to a lot of the other comments here regarding just taking the advice of the people that we're paying, the professionals we're paying. So, is that a question? That was meant to be a question, right? So, thank you.
Thank you. 11.0, adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Hadley, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Have a good evening.
I'm on some medication that gives me hot flashes, and just right at the end. It's like, oh, I'm very hot. I'm trying to